Hello, my name is Robin Ryde. I'm a senior consultant with the Oxford Group, and I have a particular interest and expertise in the area of leadership. I've written a number of books on the topic, particularly leading through transformation and change, and I'm a former CEO. And I'm particularly pleased to be able to talk about the notion of the shadow you cast as leaders, because I think it's really important and relevant now to the situation that we face in terms of the current pandemic. So I think that there are a few things which make leadership quite, if not unique, then distinctive. And the first of these, I think, is captured in the idea of the amplification principle. And what this suggests is that the things that you do as leaders, what you say, the words you use, how you're seen to act, become magnified or amplified across the organization. It's a bit like celebrity, I guess, but perhaps with less glamour, in that you are scrutinized, examined, and watched as leaders. And I want to illustrate the power of this idea with a brief story. So I have a colleague who's a coach, and she was coaching a CEO one time of a big company about this idea of the way in which their behavior became amplified across the organization. And although the CEO understood it, they weren't necessarily buying into it. So she invited this person to undertake an experiment that had two simple rules. The first rule was that the CEO had to, whenever he was seen out in public within the organization, going to meetings or presentations, he had to carry with him a journal against his chest. A journal that had nothing to do with the organization, but a journal nevertheless. And so they would go to a meeting, they would take the journal in with them, they would sit down, put the journal on the desk next to them, conduct their business as usual, not say anything about the journal, pick it up against their chest and walk away. If they were going to give a presentation, they might go up to the lectern with the journal against their chest. They would put the journal down on the lectern. They would conduct their presentation as normal, then pick up the journal and walk on. So that was the first part of the experiment. The second part was they had to check in the corporate library. This is a big organization, by the way. In the corporate library, the number of subscriptions to the journal at the start and at the end of the month. And what was surprising to this CEO was that the number went from 8 to 80 in the course of a single month. And the reason for that is this amplification principle. These things that might seem to be small and not significant become magnified across the organization. And so I suppose this starts us to think about the importance of self-awareness and understanding what that shadow might be. The second element, which is quite important in leadership, is the idea that leadership is a relationship with employees, colleagues, and so on, although it's not a normal relationship, the one that we might understand in terms of ones that we have with family and friends or even teammates. And I think that one particular reason for this is because our frequency of contact with leaders is inevitably not that frequent for most of us, but also the ability to which we can build a deeper relationship is also often limited, which brings to mind this third quality of leadership, and that is that we look to our leaders to signify, to symbolize a whole range of different things that might be about the well-being of the organization. It might be about the mood in the organization. It might be about whether we need to worry or not. And what we find in organizations is that in a similar way that we scrutinize the leader per se, we are scrutinizing what they seem to be hinting at or signaling or symbolizing in terms of their behavior and actions. And so these three areas taken together, I think, are particularly important now. So the question that we might ask of ourselves is, To what extent are we aware of our shadow? To what extent are we understanding what's being magnified or amplified in terms of what we say or how we behave? And also, what are we signaling to the organization, perhaps even unaware to ourselves at times, but what are we signaling to the organization about the mood, about what matters, and about the role that people need to play? So my encouragement is, in these times now, to think a little bit harder about each of these areas and how you can calibrate your approach to leadership going forward. So I hope this has been a stimulating set of ideas, and I very much look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you.